On the west end of Billings, Montana, past the edge of the city limits, sits a quiet residential subdivision. It is the kind of place where houses sit on generous lots, where neighbors know each other by name, and where nothing happens that draws the attention of the outside world. On the evening of Sunday, August 23, 2026, that changed. Just after 6 o'clock, a neighbor a few doors down heard a series of sharp cracks. He assumed they were fireworks. It was a Sunday evening in August, the kind of night when fireworks would not have seemed strange. They were not fireworks. Inside a house on that street, 8 members of one family were being killed. Minutes later, the house was on fire. Police arrived at the residence that evening after reports of gunfire. What they found was a home already engulfed in flames, with the sound of gunshots still coming from the back of the property. Because the subdivision sits just outside Billings city limits, it falls in an area not required to have fire hydrants. That single fact would go on to shape everything that happened next. Firefighters could not simply connect a hose to a hydrant and begin dousing the blaze. Instead, crews had to bring water in by truck, and law enforcement needed to secure the active scene before firefighters could safely move in at all. The fire burned for hours. Billings Fire Department Chief Matt Hoppel later confirmed that crews did not have the blaze under control until roughly 1 o'clock the following morning, nearly 7 hours after the first calls came in. By the time the flames were extinguished, the house that had stood on that lot was gone. In the chaos of that evening, one detail emerged that would come to define how this community remembers what happened. A 12-year-old girl inside the house called 911. Her name was Charlotte Gekier. As gunfire erupted around her, Charlotte picked up a phone and tried to get help to her family. She did not survive the night. But investigators have confirmed that her call was made, and that in the final minutes of her life, Charlotte Gekier tried to save the people she loved. A family spokesperson later put it simply, Charlotte was the hero. For 2 days after the fire, official confirmation of who had died came slowly. Investigators withheld the identities of the victims, citing the need to protect the integrity of the investigation and the recovery work still underway at the scene. But family members, speaking to the Associated Press, began to share who had been lost. The victims were not strangers gathered by chance. They were one extended blended family, spanning 4 generations, who had come together for a Sunday dinner. An ordinary family ritual that for most families ends in nothing more than dishes in the sink. The victims were identified as Megan Gekier, a mother remembered by her ex-husband as someone who had rebuilt a peaceful blended life for her children after divorce. Owen Ireland, age 13, and Chloe Ireland, age 7, Megan's children with her former husband, Brad Ireland. Landon Gekier, age 15, and Charlotte Gekier, age 12, Megan's stepchildren, from her current husband's first marriage. Charlotte is the girl who called 911. Barbara Barb Smith, a woman in her 60s, a retired school teacher. Dana Smith, a man in his 70s, a veteran of the United States Air Force, and a former employee of Boeing. Evelyn Smith, the family's great-grandmother in her 90s. Family members say she used a wheelchair and lived at an assisted living facility, and had come to the home that evening to be with her family. Yellowstone County Sheriff Kent O'Donnell, addressing reporters at a news conference 2 days after the shooting, confirmed the identities of all 8 victims, and described them plainly as a blended family that had gathered together that night. "This is a tragic loss," O'Donnell told reporters. "I keep using the word tragic this week, but I don't think it's enough." Family members identified the shooter to the Associated Press as 44-year-old Alan Smith, later confirmed by the Yellowstone County Sheriff's Office as Alan Michael Smith. He was Barbara and Dana Smith's son. He was Evelyn Smith's grandson. According to relatives, he was also the father of a younger sister, who was among the dead. According to Brad Ireland, the former husband of victim Megan Gekier, and the father of 2 of the children killed that night, Alan Smith had lived at the home with his parents for years. Weeks before the shooting, his parents asked him to move out. On Sunday evening, as the family gathered for dinner, Smith returned to the house. According to Ireland's account to the AP, Smith opened fire on the people inside. What little is publicly known about Alan Smith's life before that night paints the picture of a man largely withdrawn from the world around him. Ireland described him to reporters as someone who spent most of his time alone at a computer, what Ireland called, in his own words, something close to a hermit's existence. Records show Smith had studied at Eastern Washington University. According to the Associated Press, he did not appear to have held steady employment in the years since. Investigators have said that law enforcement had no prior record of contact with Alan Smith. There had never been a call to that residence for a domestic disturbance. There was no documented history, at least not one visible to police, that would have flagged this home or this man as a place where violence might occur. That absence of warning signs is, in its own way, one of the most unsettling details of this case. If you're watching till now, kindly like and subscribe. The precise sequence of events inside the house that night has not been made fully public. Sheriff O'Donnell told reporters that investigators are still working to piece together what happened, room by room, and that the process has been especially difficult because there were no surviving witnesses to the shooting itself. Deputies are conducting interviews with other family members to get a clearer picture of the events, O'Donnell said. Investigators have confirmed that Alan Smith died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound, sustained in the backyard of the property. According to Ireland's account, Smith attempted to flee the scene before he was confronted by law enforcement. He was later pronounced dead. Officials have not confirmed as of this reporting whether every victim inside the home died from gunfire, or whether some deaths were connected to the fire itself. Sheriff O'Donnell has stated publicly that this determination has not yet been finalized. Weapons were recovered from inside the home, though the department has not detailed what was recovered or how many firearms were involved. What is confirmed without ambiguity is this: 8 members of one family are dead. A 9th member of that family, the son, the grandson, the father, died by his own hand in the yard behind the house where he had once lived. More than anything else, the question hanging over this case is the question that hangs over almost every case like it. Why? As of this recording, the Yellowstone County Sheriff's Office has not announced a confirmed motive. Sheriff O'Donnell told reporters that investigators have an idea of what may have driven Alan Smith to violence, but he stopped short of naming it publicly, citing the ongoing nature of the investigation. What is known is limited to circumstance. Alan Smith had been asked to leave his parents' home weeks before the shooting. He returned on the night his family had gathered for dinner. Beyond that framework, the department has offered no further detail. No note, no documented threat, no history of violence that investigators have chosen to disclose. It would be irresponsible to fill that silence with speculation. The people best positioned to explain what happened inside that house are gone. What remains is an active investigation, a grieving community, and a set of facts that, for now, simply do not add up to a complete explanation. In the same press conference where he confirmed the victims' identities, Sheriff O'Donnell shared one detail that stayed with him. Amid the wreckage of the fire, a blaze that burned for nearly 7 hours and ultimately destroyed the home, recovery teams found a family photo album that had survived largely intact. Alongside it, they found a Bible that had belonged to Barbara Smith, with the family's personal history recorded inside its cover. It too had come through the fire with barely a mark on it. O'Donnell did not offer an explanation for how those 2 objects endured a fire that consumed almost everything else in the house. He simply noted that their survival was, in his words, hard not to read as something more than chance. It is not evidence. It is not part of the criminal investigation. It is instead a small human detail, the kind that surfaces in the aftermath of tragedies like this one, offered not as proof of anything, but as something for a grieving family and community to hold on to. Billings is not a city accustomed to violence on this scale. Sheriff O'Donnell described the event as one rarely seen in the state of Montana, and the response from the community in the days that followed reflected that shock. Jennifer Mercer, a neighbor and family friend, set up an online fundraiser to help cover funeral costs for the victims. She was authorized by the family to speak publicly on their behalf, and it was through her that many of the early details of the victims' lives first reached the public. She described the family, collectively, as very loving and close. She said the children, cousins and step-siblings alike, got along well, and that even after Megan Geckier and Brad Ireland's divorce 6 years earlier, the two had remained on amicable terms. It was that continued closeness, in fact, that had brought both sides of the blended family together at the same table that Sunday night. "I feel like our entire community is devastated," Mercer told reporters, even people that never knew any of them. On Thursday evening, 3 days after the shooting, the family held a candlelight vigil at Veterans Park in Billings. The public was invited to attend. As of this recording, several central questions in this case remain officially unanswered. Investigators have not confirmed a motive. Investigators have not confirmed the exact cause of death for each individual victim, or clarified how much of the loss of life is attributable to gunfire versus the fire that followed. Investigators have not disclosed the number or type of weapons recovered from the scene, beyond confirming that weapons were found. Investigators have not released whether Alan Smith left behind any writing, message, or communication that might explain his actions. What has been confirmed is a timeline. A family gathered for dinner on a Sunday evening. A man who had recently been asked to leave that home returned. Gunfire began. A 12-year-old girl called for help. A fire consumed the house, and by the time it was extinguished, 9 members of one family, 8 victims, and the man responsible for their deaths, were gone. There is a temptation in cases like this one to reach for an explanation that makes the events feel less senseless, a motive tidy enough to explain 8 deaths in a single evening. That explanation has not yet been given, and this account will not manufacture one. What can be said, based only on what has been confirmed, is this: a family that had weathered divorce and rebuilt itself into something its own members called loving and close, sat down for dinner on an ordinary Sunday night. A 12-year-old girl tried to save them. A community that had never experienced anything like this before is now left to grieve people most of its members never had the chance to meet. The investigation into what happened inside that house, and why, continues. This account reflects publicly confirmed information as of August 27, 2026. Investigators have indicated that further details may be released as the investigation progresses. Subscribe to Behind the Case File for more true crime investigations covered with accuracy and respect.